I will send I will send the YouTube link to you, like every
Yeah,
after
I got them. Just someone also another Malaysian person actually was asking about
joining the class.
but I don't know. It's for a younger kid, so I don't think they would be able to join us. There's no way. They're 8 years old. So
8 years.
I just wanted to give some examples of what my one-on-one lessons are like.
I
And
thought we are in the I mean in the advanced level, or are we considered as intermediate level?
yeah, I mean, at least they can get an idea of how it works, you know.
Oh, okay.
I think for some of the parents, they're not used to what, with COVID, everyone's been moving online and some people are, I'm pretty new to it, you know,
Oh, I see.
so. And the parents haven't seen this before. Let me share my screen with you. Hold on. I just finished teaching my younger class.
Okay, let me allow you to share the screen.
Okay.
You can share the screen now.
I'm just gonna try a different screen sharing so that you can see my face too. That sometimes, I don't know, I find it easier to understand when someone's speaking if I can see their lips, so.
Okay.
I'm just sharing my entire screen instead of a window. Let me get rid of this stuff. This is all for my younger students.
Oh, okay.
All right. Okay, so let's go to where we left off last time. Oh, do you have any English questions for me from this week?
No, so far I don't have any questions.
Okay, just let me know if that changes. If something comes up where you have a question from either your students or, I don't know, I always have questions for my Thai teacher about things that I've heard. But you're more advanced in English than I am in Thai, so
Oh,
it
no.
may be a little different.
Oh, yeah. And how about GDP? What does it mean by GDP? Like,
Gross domestic product. So it's, I'm not an economist, but it means if you add up the gross value of everything the country produces per year, that's the
that's
GDP.
GDP, that's mean the profit or the earnings that you get from all the sectors.
It means it's not profit, it's, I believe it's just the revenue.
Or
Yeah.
the revenue.
So everything. I don't know. I believe it's revenue. I'm not sure if it's profit because I'm an English teacher, not an economics teacher.
Oh, okay.
But it's, I know what it stands for, which is gross domestic product. It
So,
basically GDP per capita. So you know what per capita means, right?
per capita, I don't know.
It means it means divided by the population.
Oh, okay. Means like they divide the revenue to all the states.
Right. Not exactly. They divide it by the number of people that are registered as living in that country. So, for
Okay.
example, if you look at a list of countries by GDP per capita, it's a good way to show the richest countries, right?
Oh, okay. So the higher the GDP, that's mean
The
they
higher the
produce
GDP,
more revenue.
China has a huge GDP, but they have a medium to low GDP per capita because if you divide by the population, the
Oh,
average that each person is getting isn't very high. So all of this is in US dollars.
oh, okay.
Monaco is the richest country in the world per capita. So
Okay.
you have 190,000 US dollars per person per year, which is
Oh,
great.
per year.
Yeah,
Oh, I see. So they measure it per year, is it?
per year. And they measure it in US dollars
Oh, okay.
usually because it's the most common.
How about Taiwan?
Thailand is towards the middle, I believe. I'm not actually sure. It's lower than, it's a little bit, it's like the same level as China, I remember checking.
Oh, I see.
We probably passed it already because I see the Philippines. here. Thailand is 7,702,
or USD?
yeah, per year, which is pretty low.
Oh, yeah.
Malaysia should be a little higher. Yeah,
Just not, if I'm not mistaken, I saw it's in the 78th place.
Yeah, here it is, 11,604.
Mm.
Right, you're right at the same level as Russia.
Oh, yeah. It just
China,
differ.
okay, China is higher. Okay, got it. China is slightly higher.
Like if let's say you are considered as an expat, right, in Thailand, so what is the average salary of working as an international teacher in Thailand?
The public schools are required to pay 35,000 baht per month, which is about 1,100 US dollars. But it's actually that's pretty low.
Oh, okay.
But sorry, and not only is that pretty low, most schools are paying like non-native speakers even less than that, and some are paying native speakers less than that because there's lots of people want to teach here.
Oh, in Thailand.
Yeah, because it's an easy life, or they see it as an easy life, and they can go to the beach and teach 20 hours a week, or maybe even less, like 16 hours. And the schools know that they can hire people that are underqualified,
Oh, yeah.
maybe don't even have college degrees, but then they can pay them, you
Just
know, less.
just because they are native.
Right. Yeah, I make more than that, but also I supplement my pay with private tutoring, or else I wouldn't be able to live a middle class life here.
Oh, I see.
There's definitely better countries to teach as an expat, but I'm already settled here, so
I see.
it is.
Okay.
The funny thing is it hasn't changed. And I saw people talking on Facebook, and an older guy said that he came to Thailand in the year 2000 to teach, and he was still getting 35,000 baht per month, which means that if you go, the Thai baht has a high rate of inflation. It's like
Oh, yeah.
1% per year. So that means that the pay for teachers has actually gone down. It actually ties into our question, for our debate question for today. Let's do this one first, since we're already talking about teachers.
Okay, so in the USA, the average salary for a teacher is $60,000 per year. This is about the same salary as a postman. Why are teachers on average paid the same as someone who delivers a meal? Is one job more important than the other? I think it depends, I would say, because our job scope is different. Because a teacher's job, I would say it's not that hard. If let's say you have the passion, it's not that hard. You just need to speak, and you don't need to do the labor jobs. Is it labor job?
Physically hard.
Yeah, we don't need to use our energy. We just need to talk. And also a teacher can do private tutoring after school, so we can generate extra revenue or income. But a postman, they will have to work full-time. I guess they don't have the time or energy to do part-time jobs anymore. So yeah, actually a teacher can earn pretty well.
Right.
But in Malaysia, we always say that, oh, if let's say you cannot find a job, then just become a teacher.
Yeah, but I think that's true in every country, actually. Well, that I've been to.
But then actually a teacher can earn pretty well if let's say you are hardworking and you have the reputation. And I would say a lot of teachers are focusing on like personal branding, because let's say they want to charge more, they will focus on, like, how do I say that? They rather they are working hard on becoming a celebrity teacher so that they can earn more. This
Right.
is what I see from, yeah, this is what I see in the market lah, in Malaysia. Even though they are not so professional, but they are so good at, personal branding. So sometimes they earn, yeah, they can actually earn double or triple times an average, double or triple times the average amount.
I think also maybe it depends on where you're teaching, because there are schools in America that you would have to pay me 2 times that to teach there. I mean, we're talking about schools in the middle of the city where your students don't want to learn. I have friends that taught in American schools, and the young teachers often, if you want to get a job right away, because there's a lot of teachers and there's not a lot of there are a lot of teaching jobs, but they tend to be in areas that people don't want to work in. So either way out in the middle of nowhere, or extremely urban. And urban schools have their own set of challenges. You have students that are going to say, okay, can you guys sit down? No. Open your books. No, I don't want to. Swearing at the student, bringing knives to school,
Knives
to
in
fight.
American school.
They have metal detectors in these schools and armed security guards with guns. That's how bad some of these schools are.
Oh, in American schools.
Some of them. My school was very casual. There was no real problems. Once in a while, some kids would get into a fight, usually arguing. Once I saw someone punch another kid, but I think that's normal. But the students were generally still respectful to the teachers. And in Asia, my experience in Thailand has been the students have been very respectful. And if they're not, you can talk to their parents, and the next day they'll come to school and be respectful. With exception, there's some kids that are just naughty. But without getting off topic, these schools, I feel like maybe those teachers should be paid a bit more, because it's like they're going to war. It's the areas where they live, they could have their cars stolen.
Oh, yeah, correct.
Things like that. I mean, they could be attacked, raped, robbed, leaving school. It's serious. I mean, so it definitely depends, versus the nice schools in nice neighborhoods where all the families are pretty middle class or upper class, and the students are well behaved. I know teachers that have quit after only 1 year of working in the cities.
Oh, in the government school.
Right. Well, I mean, most teachers in America are working in government schools. The private sector is pretty small there. I mean, you have religious schools, mainly Catholic, but the public school system is still the biggest employer, and they have unions for the teachers, and they give good benefits. So a public job is pretty good there. It's not like in Asia, it seems like it's more profitable to work for a private school. That's not always true in America. Some of the private salaries are low. Anyway, but I think, I mean, the postman is essential, right? I mean, so are teachers, but what happens if you underpay a postman? Like, what if he's paid a very low wage? Like what happens in Thailand? What do you see happening?
You mean for the postman or teacher?
Yeah, for the postman.
For the postman. I think they might, what is the word used? I think they might just stop all the work. So what is the word for that?
You mean like decrease production or decrease efficiency, or just steal?
Yeah, like they would rather just stop all the work, and they don't want to like work anymore.
Right.
This is like what happens to the doctors in Malaysia, because are not getting a secure job. They are on contract. They are under contract, like the medical officers, they are under contract and they don't get a permanent job. So there was a huge protest in Malaysia, I think last month.
So they
So they stopped
went
the
on
work.
strike.
So what is that?
Going
They
on
went-
strike
Oh
is-
yeah, they went on the strike.
There's other terms for it. Walk out. It's like a type of organized labor protest,
Or organized labor protest.
but it's generally called a strike.
So like the doctors went on strike.
Did
Went
they,
on a strike or went on strike?
they went on strike.
Oh, strike.
You could say went on a strike. I'm not sure if that's grammatically correct, though. Went on strike is the way I was taught.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Or you can even say, you can use it as a progressive verb. You could say they're striking.
They're striking back. Is it?
No, it's a different meaning. It goes, if you say they're striking, it's better to say they're on strike, actually.
They're on strike.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could say they're striking. I think that's grammatically correct, 90% sure, but this I'm 100% sure on, so
They're on strike.
yeah. It's unusual, right, in Asia, compared to like, in the West, I remember like I'll be driving through a town and you'll see workers on the street holding up signs like, we want more pay, and then you're supposed to hit your horn if you support them.
Oh, it happens in Western countries.
Yeah, very often, actually.
Oh, very often. It's not that often here in Asia, I would say. But
Maybe a different mentality towards work.
because we are not so used to protesting, we just want to keep the peace. Just
Right.
want to live a peaceful living. So yeah.
I think Westerners are, the stereotype at least is Westerners are a little bolder and louder.
Yeah.
So if they have a problem, they're gonna let you know about it. Whereas,
That is what a democratic country, the people from democratic countries does.
even Japan though I think Japan is technically a democratic country. It is actually. They have elected officials and people. When I was there, it seemed very quiet and I don't know. It seemed like everyone is sort of keeping to themselves. Anyway, at least in their workplace. I can't imagine a strike in Japan, but I'm sure it's happened.
Yep.
Anyway, so let's go back to this question.
Oh yeah, this one I didn't answer this. Tell me about a time where you felt your ideals challenged and how did you respond? So define an ideal. Ideal, is it like, from what I know, I think ideal is suitable. Is it suitable?
Suitable?
Like describe your ideal man.
Oh, that's
Describe
different.
your ideal type of man.
That's different but related. That's a different meaning of ideal. So in this case, an ideal is a defining belief that one holds.
Oh, okay.
So an idealist, for example, an idealist is someone who values ideals as opposed to a pragmatist who values practicality. So
So what does he mean by pragmatist?
a pragmatist means someone, okay, let's give an example. You have a country that has a lot of corruption, and people are trying to reform that corruption, or reform the country and take care of the corruption. An idealist would say, let's form together and let's just stop being corrupt, because I believe that everyone in their hearts wants this country to be free of corruption. Whereas a
Oh,
pragmatist would say, well, let's just give money to the right people and work within the system that's already in place. Like, okay, this person is never going to not be corrupt, so let's try to put someone in place who's going to sort of balance out the corruption or use the corruption to reform within that system. You could say, I'm a pragmatist. Like, why didn't you help her? Well, I'm a pragmatist. I'm trying to do what's right for the bigger picture. And can you think of what an idealist would be then?
idealist, that mean they fight for what they believe.
Correct. Yeah.
They fight for-
So
And pragmatist, that mean they do nothing, or they are looking at the bigger picture and they cannot simply take any action.
a pragmatist puts their ideals aside in order to get things done.
To get things done.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Like, to solve a problem, to get things done is sort of a phrase meaning like to solve a problem, to complete a task.
That's mean a pragmatist will walk the talk, and then ideal is just talk. It's just
That's a negative, that's like a very negative way to look at it. But idealists can be idealists, like, Gandhi. I think he's usually used as
Gandhi.
an example.
Oh, yeah, Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi, right?
Yeah, right. So Gandhi had this ideal of the Indian people should be free, but he also had some pragmatism in that he realized that by organizing the people and opposing England without actually fighting them, it would force the British government to make changes.
I see.
Um, I guess an example of an idealist would be someone like, I don't know whether you think that this person really existed or not, but like a Jesus figure. An idealist is someone who doesn't care about the consequences of their actions. They just want to do what they believe in.
Oh, okay.
In this in Christian belief, Jesus Christ was someone who, okay, he has this set of ideals, and even when he was threatened with death, he kept to his ideals, right?
Oh, okay.
Even if he was pragmatic, maybe he would have just worked within the system and not ended up dead. So
Understood.
anyway, that's examples of idealists and pragmatists and people like Gandhi, who I guess were a mix of both. Anyway, so I think now you understand ideals and idealism.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me about a time when you felt those ideals challenged, that ideals that you hold.
When someone younger than me tells me what to do, because I actually met a guy who was 2 years younger than me, and then he had a lot of opinions, like um sort of like challenge my opinions, and then he especially dealing with people who are narcissistic. Can I say narcissistic?
Yeah, sure.
Means like they always think that I think they are because he's one of the debater, so sometimes I feel challenged. And then yeah, and then yeah, that is the time when I feel that my idea is challenged, because we actually plan ever since the movement control order implemented in Malaysia. That's mean all of us have to start the home-based learning. And then he actually proposed to give free tuition to the students, free tuition. But then we had very low fund, we don't have funding. And also I actually proposed that you have to screen the students first, like um because some students are just taking free tuition for granted, and then they they should follow our the educators timetable, but they are actually asking us, the tutors, to change our time just to suit their needs. So pretty I still don't buy it, but he has their own ideals. They say that we should put the students first, and I should change my time just for the sake of the students and all. He said that we have to be professional in that we have to be professional and all. But the I asked for the reason why, because the students said that they have other tuitions and they cannot change the tuition center's time. So they asked us, the free provider, to change the time to suit their needs. So from there, yeah, we have our ideals clash on. Can I say that?
Yeah, so your ideals clash. In your ideals, I can see three. That the first thing you said to me was that
It's
you
not
would,
practical. I mean, the junior,
right,
he's younger than me, but the idea that he proposed is not that practical. And
right.
yeah, and but the students are,
It sounds like you're telling me that it's impractical, but I'm looking for more like here, the ideals I got from you is that teachers are valuable as your time is valuable. Education you see as sort of a commodity rather than a right. Is that
then
correct? A commodity is something to be bought or sold that's worth education as being worth money, as opposed to a right. A right is something that cannot be bought and sold.
yeah. So I view education as a commodity, but he view it as a right.
Okay,
That all the students should get education, this whether he doesn't care whether they are poor or rich.
I see.
But most of the students who approach are actually they can actually afford tuition. Even you can just chip in some amount of money, that's fine. We need fundings, so yeah, we have clash ideals. Can I say that?
Yeah, you clashed ideals. Just be careful because I don't want you to confuse idealism with impracticality, because it doesn't necessarily, idealism can be practical. It's sort of a separate thing. So, for example, let me give you an example. I might have the ideal that I should always be on, or that, okay, I'll use one that's more common. I have the, let's say, for the sake of argument, I'm not saying I believe this or not. Let's say that I think that it's wrong to charge someone interest on a loan. Like if I loan to a friend, I shouldn't charge them interest. And let's say a friend approaches me and they ask to borrow some money and they take a long time to pay it back, like months and months. And I'm thinking, oh, I could have used that money to invest or to make my life better. So maybe the challenge to my ideal is I'm thinking about maybe it's okay to charge interest, or maybe there's a point to charging interest. And then maybe I come away from that with my ideals shifted, where I come away from that thinking, okay, I think it's all right to charge interest because you're helping someone and you deserve to be paid for it.
That's
Right.
mean your ideal changed after some time.
Right. After some sort of event that challenged your ideals. I think that you understand it. I'm just making sure that I didn't tell you, I didn't mislead you. Because the example I gave you originally was more of a negative view of idealism where it's like not practical.
Okay, like I can say that my ideal, like my former ideal was like, if you get a degree, you will find a decent job in the future.
Yes, yes,
But then my ideals shifted
yes.
when I dropped out from school. I found out that a fresh grad, I mean a degree can't guarantee a good job, can't guarantee you a good job.
Yeah, perfect.
Can I say that?
Yes, that is exactly the definition. Yeah, great. Okay, I think you understand that well. So let's move on. I agree with that, by the way. I think that having done things over again, I would definitely, well, I would have studied to be a teacher, but I
You don't
have,
agree to.
right, I think that a degree isn't as valuable as I used to. I used to feel that having a degree for me was so necessary, and by the time I entered the workforce, I realized that maybe studying a trade is a better idea long term.
Studying a trade?
Studying a trade like plumbing, electrician, like being an electrician or something that studying a tradesman
Tradesman means a skilled person?
is a skilled laborer. Yeah.
Skilled labor.
You're doing
Blue collar labor, is it?
and you're doing things with your hand, but it's not like working in a factory. You have a skill.
That's mean you can travel from place to place.
It can. It examples of tradesmen are
Number.
plumbers, electricians, people who install roofs, people who install air conditioners, that type of thing.
Oh, okay, tradesman.
So they have to have a specific knowledge set.
Is there any school that trains the tradesman?
Yeah, there are technical colleges.
Okay, how about vocational school?
Same thing. They're same thing, synonyms.
Vocational school and
Technical college.
technical college.
Yeah. In Thailand, it's called a technical college. In the US, it's called a vocational school. Like they train diesel mechanics or gasoline.
Diesel's mechanic?
Yeah, like I'm giving an example of a skilled laborer. A diesel mechanic is someone who's trained to work on those big engines in trucks.
Then how about the chemical engineers? Those students who
No, they're
study
not tradesmen. They're considered like educated workers because they have to do more. It's kind of a mix, I guess, but they have to go to university.
Yeah, then what's the point of studying chemical engineering when you can't do all these practical jobs?
Maybe you have a good point. Maybe there isn't one,
Oh,
maybe it's better to do that. But some people want to, do research or something that's a little more intellectual. Like if you're doing skilled labor, you might sort of be,
you just follow your skill set.
you have a skill set, but you're not necessarily using creativity. That's the idea
Different.
anyway, right? There's only one way to fix, there's only one way to make an engine. This is probably not true, but let's pretend there's only one way to fix an engine. But an engineer, there's many ways for them to build a bridge so that it works, right? So
Also, the chemical engineers will actually build something new, but
yeah,
a skilled laborer will just follow what they
what they
learn.
taught, yeah,
They follow their skill set to fix something.
correct.
Right? Oh, okay.
But plenty of engineers have been self-taught. they were skilled laborers who just decided they could do something better than what, like, okay, they look at a problem and they say, actually, instead of fixing this, I could just make a better product in the first place. That's pretty common.
Mhm.
So, all right. So like, for example, the people that invented the airplane, the Wright brothers, were bicycle mechanics. So,
Oh,
yeah. So they looked at it, the ideas behind bicycles, and said, okay, what if you
so
put,
they are not certified, they are not qualified. I mean, they are not academically qualified.
correct? Yeah.
Actually, sometimes I feel that the degree holders are quite useless.
Yeah, there's a glut of them, GLUT, like
Glut, that's mean like a wave. Is it a wave like
a glut is like an oversupply.
oversupply or surplus, right?
Surplus, yeah, surplus is a synonym. Except surplus is usually more positive. Glut has
It's more,
negative.
oh yeah, okay.
Oh, and something I wanted to talk about that you mentioned, you said like the ideal man. It still is connected to this definition of holding an ideal, like a lofty idea.
Ideal is an idea. Is
An
it?
ideal man or an ideal woman is a man or woman that fits all of your ideal qualities in a person.
Oh, okay.
Does
The
that make sense?
qualities that you believe in.
Yeah, so the
Like
qualities that
Buddha.
you believe are valuable. So it's derived, the meaning is, it's used differently, but the meaning is similar.
So ideal man, ideal is an adjective, but then an ideal is a noun.
Yes, correct.
You have the same.
Yep.
Okay,
Good.
right, got it.
Okay, so let's talk about this one. I don't know why we're on. Okay, right here. A generalization.
A generalization is a statement that seems to be true in most situations or for most people, but they may not be completely true in all cases. Can you give some situations where a generalization may be appropriate? What about situations or topics where a generalization is probably inappropriate? Uh,
And by the way, I don't mean appropriate like in the sense that like we talked about appropriate before, like if a student says a bad word, that's inappropriate. I'm talking about suitable for the situation.
for the society.
Right. So what, or for fit, not for society. I'm talking about it like where a generalization would fit, whereas where a generalization wouldn't fit. So a situation where a generalization would fit and would work, would be effective for figuring out something or for making a decision.
Generalization, from what I know, I learned it from my math. So generalization means like you make a conclusion based on a specific case. Like let's say, I will say I'm not I'm not discriminating the country. Like for example, India. India is famous for the raping culture.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like when we talk about India and then we say, oh, that is a raping country. So that is a generalization from, I mean, yeah, a lot of people say that.
So you
Yeah,
could say
and then we,
endemic
correct, it's
to
endemic too.
society. So that means that it's a part of it, like in its DNA.
Yeah, we always view India as a raping country. I know sometimes in India we have, I mean, India, they have other positive things happening there. I will say like India is a big country. I mean, a lot of the people there are very uh, good at ITs.
Yeah.
They are very good at ITs, and yeah, and then I would say generalization appears to be appropriate when it shows the positive sides, because we only want to hear the positive things, and generalization is inappropriate uh, when it shows the negative side of it. Maybe like like I can say that, like we say that Japanese are very productive and they are very polite, so this is a positive generalization on the Japanese
Right. I'm
community.
not looking necessarily, I want you to think more pragmatically, since we already learned that word. Like, where is it? Okay, if you're solving a problem based on, if you're solving a cultural problem, or you're trying to think about a certain philosophical question, where is it useful to use generalizations, which, like you said, is taking a small sample size and then applying it to the entire uh, population, and where is it damaging, or where is it not useful?
Oh,
Right.
okay, which generalization is used and what is not used?
Positive and you gave me positive and negative generalizations. So you gave me a negative one about India and a positive one about Japan. But where is that? What about, when can these generalizations, whether they're positive or negative, be useful?
When, oh, okay, it will be useful when the generalization is widespread, and then the government will take note of it and do something about it. It's appropriate when it is viral and the government actually does something to minimize the negative generalization on their own country.
Right.
Yeah, that
Give me,
I will.
go ahead.
And then it's positive. The, it's, I mean, the generalization is positive for the country when, yeah, it can actually attract more people to go there for traveling.
Okay, I
Yes.
think you're still sort of viewing
I'm
it
still-
as like,
Actually, I'm still very confused with the meaning of the pragmatism, like
so,
what you said just now. I'm okay with idea already, but pragmatism is still not clear.
okay, so let me think of a generalization that we can apply. So we could say that, all right, let's make a generalization and say that a certain group of people tend to score lower on their standardized tests.
Sorry, what did you say?
Let's make a generalization saying that a certain group of people tend to score lower on standardized tests. So like
Or lower.
score lower, yeah.
They score lower in standardized test.
So that was what I said. So you're making a generalization. Maybe this is based on a small sample size. Maybe it's not, but in order, okay, you draw this conclusion, this generalization, and then in response, you could say, okay, the schools should lower the standards on the standardized test, like lower the score needed to pass for that group.
Benchmark.
Is that helpful? Or another solution would be, okay, you put more resources into increasing, the amount of teachers, or lowering the amount, like making smaller classroom sizes, tutoring, all sorts of things to try to raise the performance of those students.
It's either you lower the benchmark to pass the test, or you can hire more teachers, or like reducing the class size.
Right.
So that is the pragmatic
I guess
solution.
both could be both could be, the first one sounds sort of cynical, like it sounds like, oh, they're not gonna improve, so just make the standard lower.
Just lower the benchmark. Is it benchmark?
But is it even appropriate to, is it even appropriate to separate people into groups when you're looking at their performance? This is getting into a different question now without me realizing it. But is it even appropriate to separate people into groups? Like, should we look at the way that Europeans, Asians, Africans score on tests? Or should we just set a certain score, and then anyone who passes that benchmark, they can go to a school, and anyone that fails shouldn't? Or should we try to look at like which groups have which groups have harder lives, I guess, and try to go towards that?
You mean, I would say that just follow the benchmark system. Like, we don't care about how old are you, as long as you pass the passing as long as you pass the passing score, you can move on to the next level. So is it one of the pragmatisms?
Yeah, it could be. But the idea of, I don't know, I think that you could interpret it both ways, could be pragmatic. Again, I think now we're on a different question. We're talking about like race and academics, which is a touchy subject, but I guess it's more like dividing pragmatism into cynical pragmatism. Cynical means assuming the worst, or treating things as, it's like saying people won't change, or it's like saying, okay, a certain group of students, all right, let's say we have a school and there's a group of students that aren't doing very well. The cynical pragmatist would say, okay, they're never going to do any better because maybe they have problems at home, or they're poor, or they just don't care about school, or they're stupid. I hate to use that word. And then the more like positive pragmatism, let's say hopeful.
So pragmatism, is it like solution, more on solution?
So to be a pragmatist means to be looking for the solution rather than trying to follow any sort of ideals. So a hopeful pragmatist might say, okay, the cynical pragmatist might say, okay, let's just lower the benchmark so that these students can pass.
So that's mean like you are how do I say that? You are actually wait, I'm looking for the word to say that.
Maybe
I don't remember the word.
Optimistic pragmatism, where they say, well, maybe if we give them more, if we devote more time to these students, then their situations will, then their test scores and their grades will improve, their academic performance.
Let me check, because you mean try to like accommodate? Is it accommodate? Like cynical pragmatism means like you're just being accommodating.
Right. Whereas optimistic pragmatism is,
that means you don't believe that they are bad, and then you try to find the best solution so that they improve. And then cynical pragmatism, that's mean you just let them live in their own
right
world. like,
just figure that they're not gonna change and that go with the simplest solution. Okay, and cynical can also mean like that you look at situations and just think the worst of it, right? Like,
okay.
so a cynic might look at religion and say, okay, that's just people choosing a belief system so they don't have to face their everyday problems, right?
Mm,
That's
okay.
cynicism. But I think we're getting sort of hung up on this. If you want to go and research this on your own,
Right. So I will
Yeah.
research on that.
because a dictionary is probably,
Did I say I will research on that or I will do research on that?
you will do research.
So research is the
You will say, I will do research on that, or you will say, I research that. Or
I will.
sorry, I will research that.
So both are acceptable.
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Research as a verb or do as a verb with do as a helping verb with research as your primary verb.
Mhm.
Sorry, no, do as a verb with research as a noun. Okay, so let's go to this one because I think it's interesting. We'll come back to these maybe next.
Okay.
So I think this is one that you'll have some interesting opinions on. So here the ACT, that's a standardized test. These are scores by gender over 5-year intervals from 1995 to 2015. So let's just look at 2015 since it's the most recent.
Okay.
What do you see in, here's male, here's female, and this is the difference between male and female. So what do you see
So
in,
what does ACT stands for?
I don't know. It's just it's like the other version of the SAT. It's something,
Like IELTS. Is it IELTS? Something like IELTS.
it's Solutions for College and Career Readiness.
Okay.
What it stands for. American College Testing.
Okay.
It's not really relevant.
College testing. Okay, anyway. So
I used it because I found data easily for it. So let's look at English and reading. And you see that females have what?
females are better than the males
Correct.
in English.
They
And then
outscore
reading.
the males in English and reading.
So, what did you say?
Outscore.
Outscore. Wait, let me jot this down. Outscore.
And what about math and science?
Math and science, males are actually better than the females.
Right. Well, let's be careful with better because they outscore, right?
Outscore. Okay. And then composite.
This is everything together. So
So the males outscore the females.
barely. Not enough.
But the difference is not that much.
Yeah, it's very low. This is the average difference over all 5 different years.
5 years. I see.
These 5-year and all 5-year intervals. So 1995, 2000, 2005, 2010, 2015. Anyway, I guess the point that you might, I'll let you speak. What do you think this chart shows you? Let's say that
Maybe it applies to the Americans, maybe. But here in Malaysia, I would say maybe it applies to Malaysia only because I've been a teacher for maybe like 5 years, but I can see that I would say the females outscores the males in almost all the subjects. Maybe because I would say in our Chinese community, how do I say that? The parents actually favor the males more than the females. And then most of the time the males are pampered. If you look at even it happens in China, they have conservative thinking that, like, let's say they have their assets, and then most of their assets will be left for will be reserved for the males only. Like the Chinese, the very rich family, they only reserve the properties and also the assets for the males only. So the females will actually work harder to achieve what they want. We need to work a lot. We need to work harder than the male. So the like if I last time I went to like in the colleges, in the universities, actually the females are scoring better, much better than the males.
Right.
Yeah.
Grades wise, I believe it's the same in the US. The women generally have higher grades than the men by a good percentage. This is only looking at this
20.
standardized test though. So I guess I would, the, it's just setting up the debate questions that we have after this, or the discussion questions. So let's,
I don't want to be rude, but I would say nowadays, I would say most of the males are not taking their future seriously. They just play and then they don't care about their results. They just want to be YouTubers. In the
Right.
future, when I ask the students, what is your ambition? And it's like, I just want to be a YouTuber. You can earn big money if you become a YouTuber. So I was like, almost all the students, they say that maybe the era has changed.
maybe, yeah, it used to be boys wanted to be professional athletes, like I want to play pro basketball in the US, or I want to be an astronaut, things that only a small percentage of people will ever do. I want to be president. Anyway, so let's forget about the cultural differences and
Okay.
try to just focus on this data. So based on this data, and let's, I guess we're just looking at the US now.
Okay. Right.
Correct.
So
So,
please hold on. Please wait for a minute. I go and close the door.
okay.
Okay.
So take a look at the table above. As you can see, female students outscore male students in both English and reading. Are women better suited for English and reading skills? What accounts for this difference?
Mm, mm, maybe it's related to our genes. Maybe females, maybe we are born like this, but it depends. You're a male, but you can teach English, what? So
Right, but I am in the minority. Most
uh
in America, most English teachers are female.
oh, I see.
Actually, it's pretty 50-50, but most when I was in university, I was usually one of the only straight males in my class. There'd be a few gay males and a lot of females in my English literature classes. So it was definitely more feminine, I would say.
Maybe.
So I don't know. I guess I'm asking like can you think of some idea? Like you talked about some cultural differences where because men are spoiled or pampered in Chinese culture, the women work harder, or in your view, women have to work harder so they get better grades, score better to make up for that difference. They're more practical because they know that they're going to have to work harder to be successful than their male counterparts. So I guess that could be one reason, social pressure.
Yeah, social pressure. And then for most of the females, maybe we because English can be trained. If you speak more, if you do more practices, then you can be good at this subject. And you will need to practice more to get better in this subject. And women, we don't get bored of practicing, maybe, but males can get bored very easily. That is just my guess. But then for the males, they are better. They are better at math and science. Maybe they are just genius. And they maybe males, they are more, they have more creative thinking, and then they have their own beliefs. They can explore a lot of ways, or they can they ask a lot of questions maybe.
Can you support those ideas?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry because it's a little bit noisy here.
So can you support your points with some evidence or some ideas?
Hmm.
You're a teacher, so you have to see.
Because most of my students, males, they are not working hard. They are just lazy. They are just plain lazy.
Or do they seem more interested in math and science than they do English?
No,
They just don't seem engaged at all.
they are just interested in games. That's all.
Yeah,
But
well, that's depressing, but I don't know. For me, I see in I used to teach both science and English, and it wasn't that the girls didn't do well in grade wise, but the boys seemed more interested they paid attention more in math and science than they did in English.
oh yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. Actually, yeah, I agree. Oh, now I remember. There is a student, a male student. He always asks questions like, other than this solution, can you like? He actually proposed many ways in math. I don't know how did he do it. He actually proposed a few ways of solving the questions, but females often, the females will always just follow the system. They just practice one solution. If I teach them this method of solving this question, then the female will just make use of the same solution. But males, they can come up a lot of ways and solutions. Yeah, that's the special kid, the special male kids.
does that come from culture, or is that something, it seems like your argument is more, not argument, but you're pointing more towards that being a genetic thing,
Yeah. Mm.
which I think there's some evidence for that,
Maybe because of
find it in
genetics.
almost every culture.
And also, I feel that the males are very good at building Legos. Maybe because they are Lego
I
blocks.
see.
And they are very good at building Lego. They are much more creative than the females. And yeah, I have a student who who can build very, he actually used, I think, thousands of Lego blocks to build a tower, and it looks pretty nice.
Right.
Yeah, and they are just very creative. Maybe because of the genes, or they are brought up that way. So, and also the cultures, I would say different cultures. Maybe some parents, they brought them up well, so yeah, they can make use of the creativity.
So we're almost out of time, but I want to just add to this or get your input. So what maybe you feel bad for saying that you thought that male students were lazy, because it seems like you're spending a lot of time defending male students. Don't worry about offending me. I'm not offended.
Okay.
What makes female students, what accounts for female students generally outscoring male students in English and reading? Why? Why are they drawn towards that, or why do they do better?
Maybe because women are more talkative. We talk a lot. So we are better at language, maybe.
Do you think that it has to do with the way language, because I think when you say creativity, I'd say that language involves creativity as well. It's not like, I mean, there's only a few ways to solve a math problem correctly. And in some cases, there's only one way to solve it correctly, right? But
Mhm.
I'm not saying you can't be creative in math, but like, for example, writing to give, to convey emotions or to convey an idea or to argue a point in persuasive writing, you know, it takes a lot of creativity and critical thinking. So why are men scoring lower on
Because
areas?
males are more straightforward
Okay,
and females are, we always think a lot. Female
you
things
know it, nuance.
once.
So nuanced thinking is thinking that isn't as straightforward. It's reading
We always think a lot.
the lines.
between the lines.
So
And
look this up on your own because I don't really have time to, it's, you would be better off looking it up on your own. You'll get a better answer than if I try to explain.
nuance thinking, reading between lines.
Reading between the lines is sort of an idiomatic way to talk about nuanced thinking. But nuanced thinking is thinking about ideas that are unsaid, the ideas that aren't straightforward.
We give the reasons. Is it?
Sure, kind of look it up on your, study it on your own. And
Okay, sure.
one last thing, do you think that women are more, do you think that women have a higher emotional IQ than men, and that could account for them being better at language? Are
Mhm.
more emotionally in touch, better at reading emotions?
Maybe. Is it EQ stands for emotional thinking?
I believe it stands for emotional quotient, just like
Emotional quotient.
IQ is intelligence quotient. But
Quotient, how do you spell quotient?
I have to spell it out here.
Oh, okay.
I have to type it out. So the quotient is then the answer in a division problem too. But
Mm,
like, yeah, so I guess is it a fundamental difference in brain chemistry, or is it something that's learned? Because also if you look, okay,
both complement, I think both matters.
okay, both.
Yeah, both will make an impact uh on a person's development. Yeah,
Okay.
even culture too. Like,
Um, a few things before, good job today. I feel like I think you learned some new,
I don't know why I feel pretty sleepy in the morning. I don't have much
oh, it's
energy
okay.
in the
I
morning.
had trouble sleeping last night too. I don't know. Maybe it's just the time of the year. For next class, is there anything that you would like to focus on?
Because I'm not that familiar with the American culture, so sometimes I can't really like answer because I don't really explore more about Americans cultures. But uh yeah, I will try my best to assimilate. Can I use the word assimilate?
Sure.
Means like, yeah, I'll try to.
I want you to just discuss based on your own experiences. I don't want you to have to research another culture. So these questions, even though I'm using the scores, it's the reason I'm using these scores is because it's easier for me to get them than the Malaysian scores because I don't speak, it's just more difficult. And remember that it's not just Americans that are taking these tests. These are all students taking this test, and a significant percentage of them are coming from outside the US, because they're going to attend American universities. So are you saying that you would like to focus more on cultural issues, or that you would just want questions that are more culturally neutral?
Yeah, culturally neutral
Got
would
it.
be fine for me. Because yeah, and do you mind if I show part of our conversations to my students in group? Because
Helpful
yeah,
for them.
yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, no,
Because sometimes I ask them, do you understand what he's speaking? And then they say he spoke too fast. So he said, I don't understand. So I was yeah, maybe yeah, but you can follow your speed when you speak. Just that I will explain to them uh in Mandarin and English too.
got you.
Yeah, and thank you very much for
And I'll see you on Wednesday. By the way, I'm going to America next Monday, so we'll continue our classes, but we might have to change the times.
you mean on Wednesday?
No, Monday.
Next Monday.
Monday. So, I guess we'll figure that out after our next class, because I need to check the time difference, and then we can see what times fit for you.
So are you going to like stay in America?
I'm gonna visit my family probably for about 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. So how about a time zone? I think the time zone will differ a lot.
It's 12 hours different from Bangkok, so it's gonna be quite different. If the times don't work, then we can just postpone our lessons, but I think they should still work.
Sure, as long as both of us are not asleep.
Yeah,
So we
exactly.
just have classes.
We'll figure something out.
And for your information, most of my classes are in the evening.
Okay, that's good,
Yeah.
because morning classes would be evening there, so it could still work.
Yeah, correct. Or even if I'm awake in the morning, that's mean it's night in
Okay,
the
correct.
US.
Yeah,
Anyway, you can tell me your time and I'll check on the converter.
okay.
Thank you very much
All right,
today.
see you
I'm so
guys.
sorry again. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Okay, goodbye.